Over the past decade on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, there have been countless conflicts in this digital wasteland, ranging from small skirmishes to all-out war. When you have a Minecraft server with no rules, there's bound to be groups of players that attempt to take control of it, either through force or influence. In 2011, an entire decade ago, the server saw its first war, where the original community attempted to stop an influx of new players that had invaded the server. The 4chan vs Facepunch war was an event that would drastically alter the course of the server's history and helped shape 2b2t into the notorious toxic anarchy server full of history that it is today. So what exactly was this war? How did the conflict start? And who was involved? Today we are doing a deep dive into the history of the Facepunch war, and by the end of today's video, you'll have a greater understanding of why 2b2t is the way it is after all these years. There's a lot to unpack today, so let's get started. As I mentioned in a video long ago, the server's original community members in 2010 had come to Minecraft from the 2builders2tools Gmod server and its Team Fortress 2 community, 2fort2furious. But after a couple of months, many of the server regulars were mainly from 4chan's V board, where the server was heavily advertised. The 4chaners brought their culture with them, which began giving the server its toxic reputation, a lawless land where you could say anything in chat without being banned. Naturally, a server like this, even in the early days, became a spectacle and would begin to draw interest from outside communities. Enter Cheesehead, a 2b2t player that joined the server in April of 2011 after seeing an advertisement on Facepunch.com. After surviving for a while and chronicling his experiences, he began telling other members of Facepunch about his adventure and encouraged more of them to join in. Cheesehead would form the Facepunch Republic, a group dedicated to helping new players survive in the harsh environment, but also bringing a form of order. The Republic would assign specific jobs to new players so that they could form an actual community that worked together. On a server with no rules, it was strange to see players attempting to form what could be considered a government. The first base they called home was Camp Facepunch, a simple castle made out of cobblestone that served as shelter for the Republic. Eventually, the influx grew, and the Facepunchers' activity became very noticeable. It didn't take long for the 4chaners to notice this new influx of players, and one of them decided to send a message. A player named Luke to the Bun would end up griefing Camp Facepunch, attempting to provoke them into a conflict that would eliminate them from the server. Lo and behold, it worked. The spark at Camp Facepunch was enough to ignite a fire. Other 4chaners applauded Luke's grief and began hunting down bases as well. Cheesehead knew he would have to be the figurehead that would lead his newfound republic to victory or defeat. So he readied the troops. The Facepunch war was about to begin, and it wasn't going to be pretty. At the start of the war, the Republic had built a new base that would serve as their headquarters for a time, Fort Creationism Corner. Cheesehead uploaded footage of the base to his YouTube channel, which to this day is some of the oldest known footage of 2b2t that actually exists. Much of the fighting took place over a 4-month period, where over 35 bases were built by the Facepunchers, and then eventually griefed by the 4chaners. Despite having some 2b2t legends in their ranks, such as XCC2, Pop Bob, and Police Mike, the Facepunchers found themselves at a disadvantage. Many of the 4chaners used hack clients, so killing them was no easy task. It would take several vanilla players just to take down one hacker. Another issue was that the 4chaners didn't have any centralized bases that could be targeted, essentially making them guerrilla fighters. While the Facepunch Republic was able to fend off many of the attacks, it ended up costing them a lot of their gear, such as food, armor, and weapons. They prayed for some sort of advantage so they could properly fight back against their enemy. Those prayers were answered in the most unexpected way when for the first time in 2b2t history, an item duplication exploit was discovered, and it just so happened to be the Facepunchers to utilize it. It was called the piston dupe, and it allowed copies of solid blocks to be created. While it doesn't work in the modern versions of Minecraft, I'll do my best to explain it. You'd put a valuable block such as diamond or gold into a contraption made with regular and sticky pistons. By having them alternate, it was possible to generate duplicate lines of the solid block you put in. This allowed the Facepunchers to re-gear and stay well stocked even if their bases were griefed. This new exploit gave a huge boost of morale to the Facepunchers, and it seemed that things were finally looking up for the Republic. But the 4chaners had been hiding something, or rather, hiding someone. Luke to the Bun, who had previously griefed Camp Facepunch, had actually joined the Facepunch Republic on an alt account in order to spy on them. His alt was named Muirs, and he would act like a completely different person while using it. In Cheesehead's original footage, you can actually see him walking around the Facepunch headquarters, completely incognito. He had successfully incited the Republic and was able to give the 4chaners coordinates to Facepunch bases, as well as instructions on how to perform the piston dupe. When it was discovered that Luke had been spying on them, the Facepunchers realized the lengths their enemies were willing to go just to eliminate them from the server. Luke's act of using an alt account to pretend to be someone else is a tactic that is still used on the server today, so in a way, he pioneered it on 2b2t. By the end of the summer of 2011, morale sharply declined in the Republic. Many members gave up and began quitting 2b2t. They had never seen players take Minecraft as seriously as the 4chaners did. In October of 2011, 6 months after forming the Republic, Cheesehead stepped down as leader. He had done what he could to keep the Republic standing and passed the torch to his good friend and loyal ally Facepunch, who would continue leading the Republic against the 4chaners. It would be another 8 years before Cheesehead would log into 2b2t again. With their leader gone, Facepunch tried his best to keep the Republic together, but it was an uphill battle. Bases continued to fall. The piston dupe no longer worked, meaning supplies were not as easy to replace, and morale was at an all-time low. In February of 2012, 4 months after the departure of Cheesehead, the Facepunch Republic collapsed. Many that had once called themselves members had joined other groups, gone lone wolf, or simply quit the server. With only a handful of Facepunchers left, Facepunch came up with an idea. As a final act of defiance towards the 4chaners, they would build a base very close to spawn and rebuild it no matter how many times it was griefed. They decided on the location of -2000, -2000, nicknamed 2K2K. With the war coming to a close, this is where they would make their final stand. As expected, 2K2K would be the target of griefs constantly, both by 4chaners and by travelers passing by. Each grief was more severe than the last. The Facepunchers quickly realized how tedious it was to keep rebuilding grief after grief. They couldn't keep it up. Eventually, the base was lava-casted so severely that it was beyond normal repair. By June of 2012, after defending 2K2K for months, they just couldn't take it anymore. The 4chaners' dedication was unmatched in the Minecraft community. The Facepunchers were defeated, and almost all of them left 2b2t for good. A war that had started 14 months ago had finally come to a close. With the fall of the Republic, the culture of the 4chaners became the server norm, which is still seen to this day. But we have to fast forward now. In 2019, after being gone for 8 years, Cheesehead finally returned to 2b2t to find it a completely different place. But with his return, he was able to provide information about the early days of the server that had previously been lost to time. Much of the info in today's video was provided directly by the man himself. The Facepunch War was the first major conflict in 2b2t's history and helped influence what the server is today. After all we've covered, you better be hitting that like and subscribe button. Also make sure to follow me on my socials, but that's it. Take it easy, and if you plan to play, stay alive out there, Fit Fam.